Mississippi.
Hi, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny, you're on
Hi.
with Jamie and Jenna and wind in the background. Oh, no, you killed it. Awesome. You are Vern's favorite color. It says here that your mother would not blaspheme during Dungeons and Dragons, and it just says here, how do I address my family's presumably religiosity? Let me just quickly say, if your mother is the type of believer that would refuse to blaspheme during Dungeons and Dragons, congratulations for somehow convincing your mother to play Dungeons and Dragons. You're probably an excellent
It was a bit
job.
of a process, yeah.
Yeah. Now just work on God.
So, yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So
the sorry, I was going to give like a quick story to sort of set the
Start us
scene
off.
and then sort of hear what you had to say about it.
Sure.
So my family and I haven't been getting along super well, and I just sort of wanted to try and do something together that we could all, sort of just do whenever. And my solution to that was, maybe we could play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
My dad and brother were pretty much immediately on board. And they played a sorcerer and fighter respectively.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, so we need a healer. So I went to my mother and said, all right, so we need a healer, and probably the one best known for that is cleric. And after describing the cleric, she was like, no, that's a holy man who does magic. That's blasphemy. And I sort of recoiled like, okay. You're normally not this God-centric. And then the same thing with the paladin. The paladin's like a holy knight who does magic. Also, that's a big no-no because it's God and magic. So surprisingly, what ended up working was a bard, which was magic invoked by music, which for some reason was fine. And I don't know how to respond to this.
What's interesting to me is that she's not okay with being a cleric, but she's okay with playing with clerics.
I don't know if that's the case. It's most likely the case she just does not want to inhabit a holy role outside of the Christian God.
Well, I think what Jenna is saying is she's willing to play a game that has clerics in it, even if as long as she is not playing that character, which is interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
It half reminds me of the episode of Seinfeld where she's dating someone that's a Christian that believes that they're saved and that believes that she isn't saved, but that isn't trying to save her. Because your mother's Christian-centric beliefs, at least in the game, appear to be like, oh no, there can be other unholy characters
as long as it's
that
not
are
mine.
Blasphemy or whatever, just as long as I'm not doing it.
Right.
Yep.
Which is interesting. Do you mind if what denomination is your mother?
Presbyterian.
Hi. And that's been the case throughout, at least your life?
Yeah. Well, throughout my life, she was born Methodist, and then I don't know how, but switched over to Presbyterian.
Did she join a new church or find doctrine that
my parents tend to be a little bit cagey about stuff like that, so I honestly don't know that whole story.
What? Okay, so you don't know the story of her conversion to Presbyterianism?
Yes.
Okay. Does she go to church every week?
She tries to. She also works at a different church as an accountant.
Okay. So it's important to her, at least.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. And it also doesn't help when, like today when we go to church and they go to this whole story about, or not this whole story, but this whole sermon about how, like, the one passage in Ephesians, I think it was Ephesians, which was like men are above
Ephesians
women.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Husbands and wives, a wife be obedient to your husband the way that...
Servant, yeah.
Yeah.
But he
not endorsed by this show.
How it's,
sorry.
Yeah. He starts by spinning that in a more progressive tone and then starts talking about how kids can't play Fortnite because it's bad for their souls. And it's like, how did you do this? And my mom subscribes to that kind of thing. I don't know how
there needs
happens.
to be a word for some part of the experience of I'm having a completely normal, rational conversation with you, and now you're talking about the different roles of the 7 different types of angels and praying to Mary.
I think it's a bait and switch.
Is she open to talking to you about it?
She's open to starting a conversation, but not losing it.
Okay, so then maybe So can I offer you some advice?
Yes, you may.
If you have access to YouTube, search street epistemology. Because when I first deconverted, my biggest frustration was just conversations. I was like, I just want to talk to people, and everybody expects me to be coming at them with this anger. And I'm like, I don't even know how to talk to people because they're already coming at me hostile, and I don't know how to respond in a respectful way. And so somebody directed me to Anthony Magnabosco's Street Epistemology YouTube channel, and it taught me how to be less aggressive and just stop coming in with the idea that you have something to say, and just come in with the idea that you want to understand. So if you're trying to bridge a gap with your mom and she's willing to play, that's huge to me, that she's actually willing to play, but she recognizes the blasphemy in the game. So maybe try just asking very gently and kind of, not like, let's sit down and have a conversation, but hey, Mom, I was just wondering, you said that was blasphemy and you didn't want to be a cleric, and I'm just really kind of confused about why it's okay to do this and not to do this. And just like specific questions about why is this okay and this not okay, when it's not directly hand-typed in the Bible, this is specifically what you're supposed to do or not supposed to do, try to find out where she gets her information from. Does she have a priest or a preacher that's barking in her ear saying, no, this is okay, this is not? Where is this coming from? Try to understand why she's making these decisions and going with it.
Yeah, I agree entirely with Jenna. If you're trying to figure out the best way to deal with disagreements and differences of belief and family, street epistemology is the approach, but if you're going to address the subject, because lots of people, do the, pick your favorite decade from the 1920s way of responding to knowing but not talking about your family member is gay, where it's like, oh, he's a confirmed bachelor, and then you just never talk about it and you move on. Some people do that with religion now, but if you're going to address it, one, that's an option if your family goes for it, but two, if you're going to talk to them, it's always better not to be hostile, and street epistemology is, I think, the best way to do that. The ACA also produces the show Talk Heathen on Fridays.
Truth Wanted.
Truth Wanted. Jesus. This is Talk Heathen. Hi, welcome. I know what's going on. I'm the host.
Welcome to Talk Heathen, everybody. We're coming to the end of the show, but it's
cool.
okay.
Thanks for taking my call. So the show Truth Wanted on Fridays, which is, Dan is the poster child with hair for street epistemology.
He's very objectively down.
Yes.
Objectively down.
So you've seen it.
Or at least follow him on Twitter.
But I hear you talking about it all the time.
Cool. Yeah, check it out. He does the same thing. And you can actually call in the show, and anything that you want to talk about, you can try.
Yeah. Well, so we have to be really time conscious. We've got a real hard stop. I do want to hear back about, how stuff is going. Email, Reddit, Facebook, subscribe, all that stuff that YouTubers and personalities say. But also, I updates. I want to, hear how you're doing and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you for calling
calling
in. It was a good one. Yeah, I just meant Dan is the poster child for street epistemology with hair, whereas Anthony Magnabosco is the poster adult without hair. So there's that. We have